Hey, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I still get, I've done several videos on this before, but I still get people who get in touch with me and they ask the same questions. So I admit that it is difficult to be able to, for me, to be able to direct anyone to a particular video, because Beth certainly has researched whether it's advisable to number videos. So when you make a video, you're a blogger, you make a video, you put a title on it, and the title is supposed to tell you something about what's in the video. And to me, the idea of a number, it makes sense to me, but on the research that Beth has done about what other people have found to work and not work, that's the thing about, if you go on YouTube or you Google, probably best on YouTube, and you ask the right questions, then you will get the right answers and you'll get a lot of information back. Plus, there are other people who are doing how-to and very good how-to videos about how to run this, how to run that, how to walk this and how to walk that. Anything that you want to know, you can find out. Well, our research brings us to the conclusion that it's best not to number videos. So that brings me to why you end up making some videos about the same subject. And looking at the most recent videos is probably something that someone is going to do. And the people that get in touch with me about this are always fairly recent viewers. They're recent subscribers. So they haven't seen a lot of the videos that we've done, and certainly it must be quite a daunting task. I still get questions like, can you tell me more about yourself? And my usual response to that is, well, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can have a look at 11,000 videos which will possibly answer every single question that you may have. So that's my response on that, but I still get that kind of question. So what I wanted to talk about was the idea of how do you set about coming to live in the Philippines. And for me, it seems to be that if you're coming out to live in the Philippines, it's not going to be, it really isn't going to be a problem to find a good, honest Filipina, one who suits your taste in age, in looks, in all things, or certainly nearly all things. Let's face it, when two people get married, they never meet each other's every need. It's just not possible. So how do you set about the problem, the challenge of ending up in the right place with the right person? Well, because of the dedication to family that most Filipinos have, they want to be close to their family. Now, this doesn't always work. We have a friend who this ended very badly. His in-laws didn't respond, or they didn't get in sync with him, and they didn't like each other. So he ended up moving out of a house that he'd already built and was quite happy with, and going and living somewhere else, not close to the family. So it can go wrong when you choose to be close to the family. But if you handle it right, then the extended family that you acquire will be a treasure. You know, for myself, I don't have any close family now at my age, not hard to understand. My parents have passed, brother and sister have also passed. So the idea of having a family again, when I look back, very often when you get to my age, you start thinking back on how you have gone through your life, the opportunities you've missed, the things you've failed at. Yes, you spend a bit of time looking at your successes, but human nature being what it is, what you didn't manage to do usually lingers on in the mind. So with my now mother-in-law, who, because of my age, I'm actually a little bit older than my mother-in-law, so how can I call her my mother? Well, I call her Nanai because everybody calls her Nanai, and I felt that it was my chance, my second chance to be a good son. So that was how I approached it. Now, with the idea of how you interact with your new family, you've got some enormous differences in the way that you look at things. I mean, it's not a culture gap. A gap seems to me to imply that it's something like this, but it's not that. The difference between a foreigner and a Filipino, culturally the differences are Grand Canyon-esque, like the Grand Canyon. They're so incredible because they look at things so incredibly different to what we as foreigners look at them. But that's a whole other video that I intend to make. Now, assuming that you can meet the lady of your dreams with your second chance, or however many chances you've had, your last chance, if you're at an advanced age and coming out here to retire, this is probably your last chance, the last chance that you will want, the one where you're going to succeed in putting those things together which you perhaps overlooked in the past, and this time you're going to have a happy marriage. So if you've met the family and got along very well, now what we're looking at is where to live. Now, if it's a happy family and a good relationship with the family, then you will have no issue with living relatively close to the family. I'm not talking in our case, we live in a small grouping of houses which are all family. Works very well. It works very well for us. So, assuming that you are going to live there. Now what you have got is, you've got an issue now of what kind of lifestyle that you're going to go for. Now, in my particular case, I'm a city boy. I'm a former professional musician, and almost by definition I have to be in heavily populated areas. That's where I have the best chance of having a full employment. So I lived for quite a number of years in central London, which is as busy as it can get, and then for other times I lived in a commutable area. So I lived in an area which was perhaps maybe 45 minutes drive into town, into where I would have my gigs. So that was my life. I didn't want to duplicate that life. I didn't want to go back to that life. I have no interest in working anymore in places of entertainment. I don't want to be in places where people are smoking and drinking because of my own regard for my own health. So I don't want that. I don't seek that. So a quieter life is much more in keeping. But I wouldn't have known that at the beginning. So what I'm going to suggest to you will require that you have much more awareness in what kind of lifestyle you will like. Now, what I ended up with, if that's the way to put it, what I have now is I have what I consider is a wonderful life. We live high in the mountains of Burgos. Now, there are so many mountains in Bohol. It's like thousands of square miles of mountain country. High into, they're more like hills, but because of their altitude, they're designated mountains. So we live high up there. We really don't have neighbours that we can't walk over and borrow a cup of sugar, and we don't have a store that's within easy reach. All of these things I would never have dreamed that I could be happy with, but I am, and I love to walk out in the morning to my little breakfast bar and have my breakfast out there looking out over beautiful countryside, and that pleases me greatly. Now, what I'm suggesting to you is what a lot would have called lateral thinking. Lateral thinking, where you start at the end of the project, whatever it is that you're about to do, seek to do, plan to do, hope to do, target to do, and you say, I did it. What have I got? And then you look at what it is that you achieved. Like how I've just described to you, how my life is unexpectedly happy as far as location goes. I'm originally a city boy, but now I live in the country happily. I live in the mountains happily. I would have thought that I would be happier if I was living close to a beach. Well, I'm not that far from a beach, but I certainly can't go for a walk on the beach in the morning, which was my dream prior to getting here. So here's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting that instead of putting what we all do, instead of putting a personal ad on a dating site, which goes out to all of the Philippines, and allowing for the fact that you may not know that much about the Philippines other than what you've seen on vlogs like mine, and what you've gone on YouTube and looked at. I mean, there are so many people out there doing blogs and showing what a simple life it can be, what a city life it can be. You've got handsome and beautiful couples who are going out there, and the man is a good-looking young guy, and the woman is a great-looking lady with a tiny bikini and a not-so-tiny her, and these have a great appeal, and they'll show you what life would be like if you were to go and live in a 5-star resort type of community. Well, if that's what you want, you will be able to find sites which will cater for that, assuming that you're going for a more down-to-earth thing, because those lifestyles cost money, and they cost a lot of money. The difference between let me see, some of the rentals that I've heard of, 25,000 pesos a month for an apartment, and probably 25 or 30,000 pesos will put you on the beach. Whether it would be in the province, which is more rural, or whether it would be closer to the city is another thing, but you can research that too. But assuming that you have, like me, a modest pension, which I'm able to live on. I'm able to live on the pensions that I have. I have two pensions, one from the UK and I have one from the US, for as long as it lasts in this existing world madness that we are going through at the moment. So I can live, but I couldn't go and live in a condo in, say, Banglao, which is the tourist centre where you go to do great diving and do white beaches and all of that. I couldn't really live a good life there. So a rural life is obviously best for me. So the first thing you look at is you look at what kind of lifestyle you want. Do you, loosely talking, do you want to live close to the beach? Do you want to live in the country? And if it's in the country, will it be flatland or mountain? You can choose all of these things up front if your mind is clear of beautiful women who have contacted you and said, choose me. So what's the method? You look at what kind of a lifestyle you want. You look at the kind of place that you could have that lifestyle, be it in the country, be it close to the sea, be it on one of the smaller islands. There are small islands where you could go and live, and you could have a pretty exciting life in many ways, living close to nature. There are downsides to all of the smaller islands, by the way, because some of the islands that we go, I think there's one called Knock Knock, and it has no running water. It has wells, but the water is brackish, can't be drunk, but they use it for other means, and all of the fresh water is imported and bought. So that's one of the downsides. Some of them don't have electricity. 7 years ago, when I came here, we had neither running water nor electricity. So that tells you how much things have changed for us. Within a few months, we got electricity fixed up. And then when we came to live here, we worked out, it didn't take too long, bringing water up from the well. We have two wells, one's on that side of the property, one's on the other side, and the one that's on the other side, we used to go there and bathe outside and bathe. That was how it was then. No water in the kitchen other than out of store. So we would go and we would come and we'd have a big urn by the kitchen sink, and we'd fill that up with washing water. We'd have other drinkable stuff, and that came from that well. So you work out a way in which you can live. And depending how patient you are, depending how much you are willing to change, you can have a very happy life. So, back again, telling you again, you decide your lifestyle. You decide, and you can decide that on the basis of a level head and not looking at the holiday brochure type of research. I maintain that most people who have been coming to the Philippines for years have never really seen the real they've never seen the Philippines that I've seen, because we have, as our mission to help, we have gone into very poor areas where they live in often in quite wretched conditions, and we build houses for them, and we help people, and we help with all kinds of things, and that's what we do. It's not Boracay, it's not a white beach, it's not a 5-star resort. We don't go around dressed up to the nines. You know, I can't remember the last time that I had an ironed shirt. Gives you an idea. So, back again, look at your lifestyle, then look at the kind of place that you could have that lifestyle. Now, if you want coolish weather, you could go and live in Baguio. Baguio gets quite cold, alright? Wouldn't suit me at all. Beth loved Baguio. Now, it's the city in the clouds and a beautiful place, but wouldn't suit me at all because I like hot weather. So, it suits me where we live right now, even though right now the heat is relentless, I have to admit, and that wouldn't suit everybody. So you can research that too nowadays. Once you've decided your lifestyle and where you can have that lifestyle, that is the time to start looking for a partner. Because now, with that information under your belt, you're not going to accept an inquiry from a lady in Baguio if you're like me and you want to live closer to the beach. You can see how your choices up to this point will make things much, much clearer. So if, for instance, like me, you decided that you would like to live in the province, in the rural, I'm choosing myself because I know my own life, and I can give you good examples. So you want to live where the property is still relatively cheap. Don't talk about property in Manila, because it probably will be through the roof, and it's getting that way even in Bohol, but you would still be able to come, you would still be able. So now you would be looking at living in Bohol. So let's decide that for your sins you decide that you're going to live in the area of Taliban, Tagbilaran, any of these small or any of the small towns, and that would suit you, and you've researched it well and you've made up your mind. Now when you go online and you look for someone, you will stipulate. So now you're looking for a 45-year-old lady who is without children or with children or with grown-up children, someone who is professional or someone who is not, and must come from anywhere between Tagbilaran and Taliban, and that's the area that you are looking for. So now, if you are far more disciplined than I ever was, you will resist looking at ladies who do not come from those areas. So if you get a response from someone who lives in Cebu, then there's no point in answering that particular inquiry. So it's only those that you want from Bohol and in that particular area, and so now your process of finding the person is that much simpler. So now when you do find someone, this is the purpose behind this, you will be in a place where you've decided that you would like to live, and because you've decided that you will like to live there, when you find someone that already lives there, then that will make total sense, because then you will be able to move and you'll be able to relocate without your lady having to tear herself away from her family. Now, why would that make a difference? Well, if you are seeking the full second chance or last chance, the chances are that if the woman is young enough, she will want to have a child with you. And if, I know it's a big if, but if you decide that that would be good for you too, now you're part of a family, and that family will help. You will not be isolated just with the small family unit and no support. We have lots of children here. From the place where we just built the houses, the kids walk from there, which is quite a walk, I can tell you, and they walk up to the house, and they come up here and they hang out here, probably because we've got a very small swimming pool when it's working, and they come up here because they enjoy it, and because of the stupid school restrictions at the moment, they're not at school, so they have the time to do it. So there's always children around, and children are not a burden in the Philippines. They're a blessing, and they truly are a blessing. So you will be set with the potential for a happy life, a happy ever after. Beth calls them happy ever afters. And you'll be able to, hopefully, to put money on that you will have made the right choices. If you've made the choice based on qualities, on character, and not just on looks. And you should be able to find all needs are met on that you will find someone who's very attractive, who is the age that you want, and has the qualifications, who's had some kind of education. Not every need will be met. I mean, I'm a former professional musician, and the kind of music that Beth would quite happily sit and listen to would drive me insane. So, and I'm an artist, and Beth has no interest in art, so you have to go for the main thing. And I'm sure that you will. And if you take it on this lateral thinking suggestion, then you'll find the place that you want to live, with the lifestyle that you would like to live. And then you will look in those areas that will afford you that kind of life with the right person. And then you'll go about finding the right person, for which I wish you every luck. Thanks for looking in. I hope it helps. Bye for now.